And as of now, he is in Bastille Day Parade there. We'll take you live to those visuals and then we'll come back to India's lunar mission as well. So these are the visuals coming in live from France in Paris, where Prime Minister Modi is on a two-day visit. We saw his interaction with the Indian community yesterday, a rousing reception when he landed in France. And today, he is at the Bastille Day Parade, a very significant event there.
परेड का एक तरह से औपचारिक शुरुआत को तौर पर इसे देखा जा सकता है, जहां राष्ट्रपति इमैनुअल मैक्रोन इस समय निरीक्षण करते हुए दिखाई दे रहे हैं
बिल्कुल
उस परेड का। और ये आप एरियल व्यू देख रहे हैं। ये इतना बड़ा समारोह फ्रांस का माना जाता है, बेस्टिल डे, जिसे एक तरह से पूरी दुनिया इस दिन को न सिर्फ फ्रांस की सैन्य शक्ति का प्रदर्शन के तौर पर देखती है, बल्कि लोगों में एक विश्वास के तौर
पर। बिल्कुल, फ्रांस के दौरे पर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी और आज फ्रांस की बैस्टिल डे परेड में वो शामिल हो रहे हैं। जब फ्रांस की बैस्टिल डे परेड की बात आती है तो हमें समझना होगा कि ये एक उत्सव से कम नहीं है। फ्रांस के अंदर 14 जुलाई का वो दिन है जब फ्रांस में बैस्टिल डे परेड मनाई जाती है और इस बार भारत के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी बतौर विशिष्ट अतिथि यहां शामिल हो रहे हैं। और हम तस्वीरों में देख पा रहे हैं कि फ्रांस के राष्ट्रपति इमैनुअल मैक्रोन इस समारोह में शामिल हैं और खास निमंत्रण उन्होंने इसके लिए प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी को दिया था। 14 जुलाई का दिन जो फ्रांस में मनाया जाता है, वो बैस्टिल डे परेड यहाँ एक बड़े उत्सव के तौर पर मनाया जाता है और ये फ्रेंच रिवॉल्यूशन यानी फ्रांसीसी क्रांति की एक प्रमुख घटना की याद में ये मनाया जाता है बैस्टिल डे परेड, जिसका हिस्सा आज विशिष्ट अतिथि के तौर पर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी बन रहे हैं। और
in fact, Preeti, the Indian tri-services are also going to be an integral part of this celebration. And it's very significant, as you're pointing out, you know, when we look at the historic significance of Bastille Day Parade, not only for France, but this year, when we look at 2023, the significance of Bastille Day becomes more important because this time it is a unique celebration of history, national pride and worldwide diplomacy as well. That is what France has aimed this year's Bastille Day Parade to be. In fact, a vivid reminder of France's continuous cultural heritage and revolutionary history as well, as you're pointing out, you know, around 250 years ago, more than 2 centuries ago, in fact, on 14th of July, this day itself, this was the place which became a pivot of France's history in terms of the revolution, the French Revolution, which we all talk about, very significant, very important, and becomes more significant from India's perspective, from India's point of view, with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi being the guest of honor at this year's parade. You can see the visuals on your screen there. Prime Minister Narendra Modi present at the Bastille Day Parade.
बिल्कुल, और प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी की बातों का अगर जिक्र करें तो हम जानते हैं कि उन्होंने कहा था कि सैकड़ों साल पहले फ्रांस की धरती पर लाखों भारतीय सैनिकों ने अपनी जिंदगी कुर्बान की थी और वही रेजिमेंट आज नेशनल डे पर हिस्सा ले रही है। आज फ्रांस में बैस्टिल डे परेड में पंजाब रेजिमेंट की कदमताल गूंजती आज हम इस बैस्टिल डे परेड में देखेंगे। फिलहाल आप तस्वीरों में देख पा रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी बैस्टिल डे परेड में विशिष्ट अतिथि के तौर पर शामिल हैं और भारतीय सेना की पंजाब रेजिमेंट इसमें हिस्सा ले रही है, जो प्रथम विश्व युद्ध का हिस्सा थी। तो अपने आप में कई संदेश समेटे ये आयोजन, जो एक तरह से सबसे बड़ा आयोजन है फ्रांस में, और आज इसमें विशिष्ट अतिथि के तौर पर शामिल हो रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी। 2 दिन का फ्रांस का दौरा प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का। 14 जुलाई फ्रांस में राष्ट्रीय दिवस के रूप में मनाया जाता है और इसी अवसर पर आज बैस्टिल डे परेड का आयोजन है, जिसमें हर साल देश विदेश से सैकड़ों की संख्या में लोग शामिल होते हैं। आप ये देख पा रहे हैं तस्वीरें, बैस्टिल डे परेड में हिस्सा लेने के लिए तमाम जवान।
And in fact, when we're talking about French history, French revolutionary history, the significance is that the same day, same year in which, the historic event took place, France was declared a republic in September that year, almost just 2 months after this historic event took place at the palace, which used to be in this location in Paris 2 centuries ago. Very significant and very important day, and those mesmerizing visuals coming in directly from Paris. And as I was saying, very historic and significant not only for France, but as France has chosen to, peg this year's Bastille Day Parade as an effort towards the confluence of world diplomacy as well, significance for France, but significance for the cultural legacy of that country, history, national pride, and the worldwide diplomacy as well. France, let's not forget, is a very important and a significant part of European Union. And we are joined by a panelist here on Jitennath Mishra is with us, a former ambassador. Ambassador Mishra, let me just try and ask you to summarize, as we were pointing out earlier, not only the significance from France's point of view, but when we look at India and the significance from Indian point of view as well. Our Prime Minister is there as guest of honor in this historic day for France.
Thank you very much for inviting me on your show once again. And it's very important for India because it promotes India's policy of strategic autonomy or multi-alignment or hedging, whatever you call it, because this is coming on the heels of the Prime Minister's very successful visit to the United States. So the message to the rest of the world, including to the United States, is that the United States is not our only options. We have an equally important, if not more important, strategic partner that has been a very reliable partner over a very long period of time. And there has been a great stability in the relationship and a high degree of mutual understanding that, interestingly, has not been degraded even by the war in Ukraine. Whereas there will be question marks on our relationship with another partner like Russia, for example, because of the Ukraine war, and of course China and others. So therefore, it is very, very important for India, and it's part of the policy of looking for partnerships in trying to seek to promote a multipolar world. This is what India really wants, and this is what it's going to deliver, because France has capabilities, particularly in military technologies, that it is willing to share. And I would like to just quote one statement which was, I thought, extraordinary from the joint statement of the Prime Minister's visit to France to meet President Macron in 2022 May. Quote, "The 6 Scorpion submarines built at MDL in Mumbai illustrates the level of transfer of technology from France to India." Now, I've never seen a joint statement with the US or even with Russia or even the former Soviet Union or with Israel, our major defense partners, ever explicitly talking about there having been made a transfer of technology. So therefore, to me, it seems quite an extraordinary moment for the relationship. Of course, there are the other things. France doesn't comment on India's domestic politics. India doesn't comment on France's domestic politics. We know what's happening right now. And I don't think Ukraine is going, it will be discussed, but I don't think it's going to be a major issue between the two countries, because the deliverables from the relationship far outweigh any differences arising from regional or international issues.
Okay, Mr. Mishra, another significant aspect is the fact that, 269 member contingent of, Indian tri-services, that is from Navy, Indian Army and Indian Air Force, is also taking part, and they're going to march alongside their French counterparts in this parade. Now, and India and France, vis-a-vis their defense relations date back to World War I as well. So, how do you see this aspect of this relationship between these two countries, which are very significant in their respective parts of the world and have a lot more to offer on the diplomatic stage, as you were pointing out earlier?
Absolutely. The relationship is very old. You mentioned the First World War. And I remember in Egypt, Libya, and other countries, even Portugal, I used to see the graves of Indian soldiers, and I used to be driven to tears seeing young boys, 19 or 20 years old boys, dying for a cause that is not connected with the interests of India. And India's contribution belatedly is being recognized in the West to the two world wars. Even in Britain, it's being recognized, and certainly in France. So it's a modernization of the old relationship. It doesn't mean that we are just talking about the First or Second World War. We are talking also about India's capabilities and India's ability to showcase those capabilities far from the shores of India as an independent country with its own agency and not as a colony of a European power. And France is willing to embrace India. Now, Britain, is it willing to embrace India by doing something similar? I don't think Britain is ready for it yet because of the legacy of empire. But France is in a different league altogether. And France did not condemn India after the nuclear tests of 1998. I was the Deputy Consul General in Houston, and I thank the French Consul General. It was one of the very few countries in Europe and the West that did not condemn India and showed actually a degree of understanding, if not explicit support. So therefore, defense, strategy, political outlook, both being non-aligned, we call it non-aligned, and the French have been an outlier of sorts in the Western alliance system. They even withdrew from NATO. So they always try to keep a distance rather than bandwagoning with the US like the UK, to keep a distance and to promote and pursue an independent foreign policy. And this is also exactly India's strategic culture, and that's why there is a much deeper comfort level between the two countries.
Okay, and you spoke about independent foreign policy, both countries, and when we look at the similar points, similar strategies here, the way both nations and the leadership of both nations is approaching various diplomatic issues at the global stage, you see some kind of similarity there. France is a very significant part and member of EU, European Union, a permanent, member in Security Council as well, but has a very distinct, significant voice on various issues, and most of the time matches with that of India.
Absolutely, you said it. Distinct, different from Europe, and very similar, if not identical to India. Let's take the Indo-Pacific. Now, the European country, Britain and Germany are trying to have some Indo-Pacific strategy or are talking about it, but it's more talks. Of course, Britain did deploy the Queen Elizabeth Task Force, but France is an Indian Ocean power in a much more meaningful and substantial way because it has extensive Indian Ocean territories and exclusive economic zones in the southern Indian Ocean. So therefore, it is a stakeholder, and they have also called the Chinese out explicitly. The British are hedging on China. If you look at their strategic paper, the revised strategic survey that was released this year, they are not bandwagoning with China, but they don't regard as a systemic threat like they regard the Russians. But France is different. It's calling out China. So therefore, there is a new congruence of interest. And of course, with the decline in the strategic capability of the Russians to deliver a defense partnership with India, a robust partnership with India in a predictable way, France becomes even more important. And we hear breathtaking things that they are willing to transfer helicopter engine technology. But it's not the first time that they've done it. They've done it with the Tufani and the Alouette helicopters, which became the I think the Chetak helicopter in India. They did transfer technologies. And of course, I mentioned the Scorpion submarines. So it is a very, very privileged partnership that is based on actual things happening. With the United States, it's all talk right now. There is an agreement recently on transfer of military technologies, but the proof of the pudding lies in the eating. And the eating has been done as far as India and France are concerned. So it's very, very important. And I have to say that we have to be very careful in accepting this promise at face value, because for UN Security Council reforms to begin, they have to begin on the floor of the United Nations. And the French ambassador to the UN, or for that matter, the US, British, or Russian ambassadors, none of them had made a statement of support for India on the floor of the Security Council or the General Assembly, which becomes the official document of the meeting and the basis for forward action. It's another thing to say that in India's parliament or in a joint statement. It's easy to say that because it's not going to happen. And I'm not sure that France really supports India in a genuine way, because the only country that really supports India, in my view, is India itself right now.
Let's take a look at live visuals coming in from there. French president being welcomed here with the national anthem, the French national anthem. You see the live visuals coming in from Paris, Bastille Day parade. Prime Minister Modi present as the guest of honor for this very significant event in the history of France. And with the presence of Indian Prime Minister there adds another chapter to that very important bilateral partnership between these two important countries on the global stage. French president inspecting the Guard of Honor. A 269-member contingent of Indian Armed Forces, tri-services from all three armed forces, that is Indian Navy, Indian Army and Indian Air Force, will also be taking part in this parade, marching along with their French counterparts. Again, putting value, adding value to the relationship which both the countries share. And the relationship which dates back, defense aspect of the relationship dates back way back to World War I, when Indian troops fought alongside French troops.
L'ensemble étant commandé par le colonel Frédéric Poulain, commandant le 1er régiment d'infanterie de la garde républicaine. Merci, Monsieur le Président. C'est un honneur, Monsieur le Président. Merci.
There we see both the leaders, Prime Minister Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron on the stage, along with other dignitaries.
En avant. Marche.
बेस्टिल डे परेड की सीधी तस्वीरें इस समय आप देख रहे हैं। सम्मानित अतिथि के तौर पर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी इसमें शामिल हुए हैं। जितेंद्र नाथ मिश्रा, पूर्व राजदूत, इस समय हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। जितेंद्र नाथ जी, डिफेंस डील को लेकर काफ़ी बातें की हमने, और इंटरनेशनल फोरम में किस तरह से फ्रांस भारत एक सुर में बात कर सकते हैं, इसके बारे में भी आपने बताया। लेकिन इस पर्टिकुलर दौरे की अगर मैं बात करूं, 25 साल भारत और फ्रांस की रणनीतिक साझेदारी के पूरे हो रहे हैं। साथ ही जैसा हम जिक्र कर रहे हैं कि बेस्टिल डे परेड के मौके पर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी को निमंत्रित किया जाना, इसमें भारत का सम्मानित अतिथि के तौर पर शामिल होना, ये किस तरह का संकेत है? और साथ ही डिफेंस से आगे बढ़कर, क्योंकि आज हम जान रहे हैं कुछ ही पलों में हम चंद्रयान 3 की लॉन्चिंग भी देखेंगे। अंतरिक्ष के क्षेत्र में अगर हम देखें तो इंडो फ्रेंच कार्य समूह की स्थापना की गई है। रक्षा क्षेत्र से बाहर निकलकर अगर हम बाकी क्षेत्रों की बात करें तो किस तरह से और अहम हो जाती है भारत और फ्रांस की साझेदारी? जितेंद्र जी, आप सुन पा रहे हैं?
यस, जी हाँ, आप सुन पा रही हैं मेरी बात?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
मैं उत्तर ये दे रहा था कि ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है कि प्रधानमंत्री अभी शामिल हैं ये त्योहार में, फ्रांस में बेस्टिल डे में। देखिए, बेस्टिल डे हमारे जो रिपब्लिक डे परेड जैसा नहीं है, वो जहाँ तक मैं जानता हूँ हर वर्ष ऐसा नहीं होता है। तो प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप 2017 में गए थे, फिर प्रधानमंत्री मनमोहन सिंह जी गए थे 2009 में। तो ये बहुत ही स्पेशल मौका है, और ये फ्रांस की तरफ से भारत के प्रति और सारे विश्व के प्रति एक संकेत है कि भारत एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण पार्टनर है फ्रांस का। और ये तो बिल्कुल जाहिर है। जहाँ तक अंतरिक्ष की बात करें, देखिए हमारी सैटेलाइटें जो हैं वो तो फ्रेंच रॉकेट से जाया करती थी, अरियान रॉकेट से, और वो तो होता था, और अब हम लोग फ्रेंच सैटेलाइट भेज रहे हैं। तो ये परिवर्तन आ गया है, क्योंकि हमारी तकनीकी जो है, हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी है अंतरिक्ष में, वो दुनिया में अन्यतम है, वन ऑफ द बेस्ट टेक्नोलॉजीज इन द वर्ल्ड। और ये फ्रांस, ये जाहिर है, और फ्रांस ये मानता भी है, और वो भारत के साथ इक्वल तरीके से काम करने के लिए तैयार हैं, एज इक्वल्स विद सिमिलर कैपेबिलिटीज। और ये डिफेंस की बात रही, आपने कही, ये बहुत बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, क्योंकि फ्रांस एक देश है, शायद रशिया भी है और फॉर्मर सोवियत यूनियन भी है, मैं इतना नहीं जानता, लेकिन पढ़ा है, जिन्होंने टेक्नोलॉजी, डिफेंस टेक्नोलॉजी भारत को ट्रांसफर किया है। जैसे मैंने कहा है कि जो जॉइंट स्टेटमेंट है जो 2022 का, उसमें तो लिखा हुआ है ट्रांसफर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी फ्रॉम फ्रांस टू इंडिया फॉर दी स्कॉर्पियन सबमरीन्स, और ये पब्लिक नॉलेज है। अगर दो गवर्नमेंट मिलके एक जॉइंट स्टेटमेंट में ये कह रहे हैं तो ये हुआ है, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ऐसी बातें नहीं करते, ये बहुत सीक्रेटिव होते हैं ट्रांसफर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में। और ये अभी हम पढ़ने को हमें मिल रहा है कि जाफरान फाइटर, हेलीकॉप्टर इंजन जाफरान कंपनी के उसका ट्रांसफर होगा भारत के लिए, और शायद स्कॉर्पियन सबमरीन्स 3 अब बनेंगी भारत में, और 26 रफाल मरीन जेट्स भी आएंगे। रफाल का ट्रांसफर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी की उसकी बात नहीं हुई है, लेकिन सबमरीन की तो टेक्नोलॉजी उसका ट्रांसफर हो चुका है। तो बताइए, हम लोग इतना खरीदते हैं अमेरिका से, इतना खरीदते हैं इजराइल से, रशिया से भी, और बाकी भी हैं, तो कौन हमको
I'd like to There it is. You're looking at live visuals coming in from Paris in France, Bastille Day parade there. We witnessed for the last 15 odd minutes the display of French Air Force's prowess with very interesting and soothing music being played in the background by the French army bands. And what you see right now is a tri-service contingent of Indian forces there. And we have two visuals on your screen now. One straight from the Paris, the French capital Paris, Bastille Day parade, and the other from Sriharikota, Satish Dhawan Center, from where another historic event is going to take place in a short while from now, to be exact at 2:35 as per the plan, when India's third lunar mission, that is Chandrayaan-3, is expected to take off aboard the medium lift launch vehicle Mark 3, that is LMV-3 rocket. So let's shift focus now to India's moon mission, Chandrayaan-3 there, which will be launched in a short while from Sriharikota. We have with us in the studio Professor M.S. Prasad, former director DRDO, who is with us. In Paris, France, the Bastille Day parade, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, you can see there in the visuals on your screen, present as the guest of honor at this parade, taking that salute from the Indian contingent, comprising of personnel from Indian Navy, Indian Army and Indian Air Force as well.
भारत और फ्रांस की सेनाओं के बीच अगर हम देखें तो प्रथम विश्व युद्ध से ही आपसी संपर्क जारी है और इस युद्ध में लाखों भारतीय सैनिकों ने हिस्सा लिया था। अब हम देख रहे हैं फ्रांस का बैस्टिल दिवस, जिसे फेटे नेशनले फ्रांसाइस कहा जाता है, या इसे कहें तो फ्रांस के राष्ट्रीय दिवस के तौर पर मनाया जाता है। 14 जुलाई को 1789 में फ्रांसीसी क्रांति के दौरान इस दिन बैस्टिल के किले पर हमला हुआ और इसकी याद में बैस्टिल डे परेड का आयोजन, इसमें सम्मानित अतिथि के तौर पर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी शामिल होते हुए, और साथ ही इस बार मिलिट्री परेड में तीनों भारतीय सेनाओं की 269 सैनिकों वाली टुकड़ी फ्रांस की सेनाओं के साथ मार्च करते हुए।
There it is. As we were mentioning earlier, you can see again two visuals on your screen. One from Paris, France, where the historic Bastille Day parade is going on. We just saw the contingent of Indian tri-services from Indian Navy, Army and Air Force marching alongside their French counterparts in this historic parade. And on the other side of the screen, the visuals which you see are the preparations for another historic event taking place at Satish Dhawan Center in Sriharikota, where ISRO is all geared up to launch India's third lunar mission, that is Chandrayaan-3, in a short while from now. 2:35 is the expected time for this launch. and we'll keep you updated on all the details on the launch of Chandrayaan 3, various specifications, its significance, what does it intend to achieve, and how important it is as far as India's journey in the space sector is concerned. Mind you, this is the third lunar mission by India.
और विशाल अब तस्वीरों में देख भी पा रहे हैं इसरो अध्यक्ष एस सोमनाथ, उनके साथ तमाम वैज्ञानिक, और इस बार दर्शक दीर्घा भी बनाई गई है, यानी आम लोग भी आमंत्रित किए गए हैं। विशेष दर्शक दीर्घा है जहां व्यवस्था की गई है। इसरो ने प्रक्षेपण देखने के लिए आम नागरिकों को भी इस बार आमंत्रित किया है।
In fact, Preeti, those 10,000 tickets in that public gallery were sold in less than 4 hours of them being made, open for sale to the public. A very, very huge crowd there. You can see a lot of enthusiasm amongst the general public as well. This is situated just a few kilometers away from the launch pad. And all those viewers there can, people there can witness this historic event in person.
बिल्कुल। और विशाल, प्रोफेसर प्रसाद से अगर हम समझें, चंद्रयान 2 के बाद और ज़्यादा सांसें थमी हुई हैं चंद्रयान 3 के लिए। इस बार कितना खास आप इसे समझ रहे हैं, और हम कहें कि कितनी पुख्ता तैयारी है इस बार?
चंद्रयान 2 के बाद हमने बहुत सारे एफर्ट डाले हैं कि